Hi, I'm Bill Arnold. Thank you for listening to this podcast. There are many more podcasts available at myfaithradio.com. Your support makes this possible. Thank you.
Oh, don't you know it's the Bill Arnold Show? It's Bill.
And a warm welcome to the Bill Arnold Show. Talk about life transitions. I know you've had one. Maybe you've moved from one job to another. Maybe you've moved from one city to another. There are so many transitions in life, and lots of times they're kind of painful, aren't they? Maybe they're triggered by relationship changes. Maybe they're health and aging. Who knows? But really, it comes down to, will God help you navigate your way through all of life's changes and transitions? And the answer is yes, he will. But it all depends on how we are adapting to our situations, and are we getting support? Do people come alongside us and help us in our transitions, or are we going it alone? So we're going to talk today to psychology professor Dr. Andy Schuttinga, who, believe it or not, has gone through a number of life transitions himself lately. So I don't think anyone knows this topic better than him. So, Andy, welcome back via telephone today.
Hey, it's great to be back here, Bill. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, this is the first time you've been on the show. I think that you weren't in studio, and I know recently you have sold your house. Your kids have gone off to college. You've left your job. You have sold your house, like I said, moved to Texas, and now yesterday you just got a new job. So I would say there's lots going on in your life.
Yeah, a lot of transition. That is absolutely an understatement.
Yeah.
We decided we're just going to rip the gigantic Band-Aid off in one shot and do it all in just a couple of months. And it's been exhilarating and fun, and also a grind and challenging. So it's been a lot of different things. So I feel especially equipped to talk about today's topic.
Yeah. Now, I know you well enough to know that you're a pretty resilient guy. You don't seem to allow too much drama into your life. You when you were talking about this change, you were more excited than anything else. You're going, new adventure. Can't wait.
Yeah,
this
that's absolutely true.
Comes from a guy that once moved to Jakarta.
Yeah, that was, believe it or not, that was a bigger move than moving from Iowa to Jakarta is a little bigger than moving from Minnesota to Texas, but there are some striking similarities between the two.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the transitions, and when you are starting to get this idea that you and your family, your wife, are going to move to Texas and leave your home, leave your community, leave your church, leave your friends. What's going on?
Well, we've long had a policy between my wife and I from when we got married. When we got married, we were a year away from graduating from college. So we were pretty young. We knew we were going to go to graduate school, and we knew we wanted to go to, we had two different programs. And I don't remember who it was. I think we had a number of people actually close to us who gave us some really good advice, who said, live your life with an open heart, an open mind, and open hands, and always be ready to go where God calls you, because it's not always going to be where you think it is. And we have a long life of great stories that I'm not going to tell now, obviously, but of times where sometimes we're sitting in a car outside of a university and said, God, where do you want us to go? We walked in an hour, we got the answer. We've had times where it took a while, but it became clear because we had an open heart and an open mind where God wanted us to go. And that's exactly what happened this time too, although God made it much easier to decide, because we were posed with the chance to move to Texas in the middle of, or in early January, in the dead of winter. And I looked outside and there was about 3 feet of snow already on the ground. It was 8 degrees. And I said, when can we go? And my wife said, maybe after we get our son out of high school. And I said, there's schools in Texas. Let's go.
Mm.
Um, so I think, having a mindset to begin with transition to say, well, if God wants us to go someplace, we know He'll take care of us. But not everybody's had the opportunity to transition in such a grand and big way.
Yeah.
And so, no matter how old you are, if it's a first or only second major transition in your life, it can be really challenging on a lot of levels.
Hmm. Talk about the uncertainty that you had with employment. You get in your car, you pack up your house, you drive to Texas, and then you start looking for meaningful work. And then yesterday you get hired. Congratulations, by the way. But tell me
Yeah,
what
thank you.
that is like when you wake up in the morning or wake up in the middle of the night going, I don't have a job.
I'm not going to pretend. It's been challenging.
Hmm.
I had plans, and they were different than what God had planned for me. I've been doing the same thing for a long time, and that opportunity just didn't present itself. Um, I searched for what I wanted to do, and I probably wasn't as good about saying, "Hey, God, what do you want me to do?" as I was about saying, "Well, here's what I plan to do."
Hmm.
And that's it's been a really good retraining period for myself to recognize that there's different things that are out there for me to do. And I've toyed with a few different ideas of things, and I still have some plans that are in motion for other things that can go on top of the job that I just accepted. Um, but in the end, yeah, it was tough because I knew for a while that we were coming here, and in the midst of moving and packing and taking care of all the things that go into changing your life around, I focused a little bit less on job searching until closer to the time that we got here. But God gave me an answer that I was looking for. It wasn't the one that I thought it was going to be, but I'm quite happy, and I know that, yeah, He's once again God answered the call, He answered the bell. And sometimes we put it in terms of God answered me, when in reality, I finally figured out what God was telling me to do.
Hmm.
I think that sometimes is more the case for people than what we want to realize, is that sometimes you just have to be patient. And you can't just sit, of course. I haven't just been sitting here by a computer waiting for, a flaming email from heaven to say, Andy, do this. I've
Hmm.
been searching and looking and trying on some different things. Accepted or looked at, had an offer to do something very different than I've ever done before, and it just didn't feel right. God made it very clear through just feelings of not quite anxiety, but unsettledness, that the offer that I had was not right. It just didn't feel right. And guess what happened? Within a week, I had an interview and a second interview and a job offer for what I'm going to do now. And I know without a doubt, and I would remind all of our listeners of this fact, is that God answers our prayers. And it might not be in our time, but it's definitely in His time.
Hmm. I've been gathering some prayers from Psalms and other places in Scripture lately, but in Psalm 4:1 it says, "Answer my prayer when I call to you, my righteous God. Give me relief from my distress. Have mercy on me and hear my prayer." Pretty much a straightforward approach. You're pleading with God, and you know that He's going to hear your prayer and have mercy on you. In Psalm 27
Amen.
7, it says, "Hear my voice when I call, Lord. Be merciful to me and answer me." And Psalm 69 says, "Answer me, Lord, out of the goodness of your love. In your great mercy, turn to me." And Psalm 86:7, "When I am in distress, I call to you because you answer me." What confidence do we have in those verses?
Oh, it's amazing. It's this is where Bill, you know this, and I think many of our listeners know this too. The world tells us a lot of different things about how to be resilient and how to have grit. And I think there's a lot of value to those things. Um, but what the world often doesn't understand is just how powerful God is and how kind and gracious He is to us, no matter where we're at, no matter what kind of transition we're going through. We know, and we may not see it in our own life all the time, but we can certainly look around and seeing it in the people that we know, where God has been kind and God has been a leading presence in our lives, slowly moving us towards something that we didn't maybe anticipate. Um, I we chose to come here.
Hmm.
We made the cognitive conscious choice between my wife and I, and our kids too. I mean, we got their feedback as well, and we felt like this is exactly what God wants us to do. So it was fairly easy, to make that decision. But I know there's lots of people out there who lose their jobs and are stuck in a spot to say, well, now what? Now what do I do? And they're, deeply entrenched in their communities. They've been there much longer than we were in Minnesota, and they might have to move. And
Hmm.
choosing to move and being forced to move are two very, very different things. And so I really empathize with people who feel like, man, why is God doing this to me? Why is he uprooting me from the soil that I've been in for so long? And my kind-hearted answer would be because there's better soil for you,
Yes, I like
and
that.
and you don't know it yet, but the soil that you're going to be planted in is probably going to give you some nutrients that you didn't know you needed,
Hmm.
or it's going to be in a shady part of a garden that you didn't know you needed.
Hmm. Dr. Andy Schuttinga is my guest. We're talking about life transitions. Have you had one? Are you going through one right now? Let us know what is happening in your world, and we'd love to address a comment or a question that you might have. 877-933-2484. I'm curious, Andy, has it been an emotional roller coaster? Uh, One day you wake up and you go, I'm in Texas. And the next day you go, I'm using GPS to find the hardware store because I have no idea where there's a hardware store. I mean,
That's
everything
a
is
very real example, Bill.
I know, but everything is brand new. And
Oh yeah.
this neighbor across the street, I haven't met them. And are they going to knock on my door? Should I go knock on their door? I mean, there's all kinds of things. How am I going to find a church? What is it going to be like? I mean, there's all kinds of things. Is there some
Oh
emotional
yeah.
roller coaster?
Oh yeah, for sure. And a lot of it's really good. We've yeah, you definitely do wake up like that. You wake up and you look out the window and you realize, man, it
Hmm.
is what a beautiful day. And I'm not familiar with this sky and this weather and these trees.
Right?
The foliage is different down here. I mean, there's a lot of pine trees, but they're different pine trees than you find up in the upper Midwest. There's leaves that are waxy because they have to hold on to their water. There's no leaves like that in Minnesota. It's sorry, it's like 75 degrees here today. Um, so there's stuff like that you just kind of naturally adapt to. But then you're right. There's where do we find community?
Yeah. Community's big.
Church has always been a huge part of our lives, and thankfully, blessedly, we have a lot of options down here in the city that we live in.
Okay.
There's over 100 churches within 20 miles of our house.
Hmm.
There's so many. And we've met some really wonderful people. But you're right, you've got to get out into your neighborhood and you have a choice.
Yeah.
You can choose to transition well by introducing yourself to people. And you walk your dog every day and every morning, or every morning and every night, you run into people and you have a choice. You can say, well, I'm going to wait until everybody introduces themselves to me. Or you can say, hey, I'm new to the neighborhood. Do you
Yeah.
live around here? And it's amazing what people's responses are to, oh, you're new, because sometimes neighbors don't even realize that they are facing someone who is brand new.
Hmm.
Because not everybody walks at the same time. Not everybody, we don't have block parties every weekend here,
Hmm.
just like everywhere we've lived.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things like that you have to figure out again how to do, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah. Andy, let's go back to the emotional roller coaster point I tried to make here.
Mhm.
What about, are you mourning anything you left?
Oh, I think so. Yeah. And I think that's a real big part of transition too, is, there's a certain grieving. I talked to a very good friend yesterday, and we really hadn't talked much since we left. And I felt bad about that. Um, we're both busy people. He's especially busy right now. There's his job right now is particularly busy.
Hmm.
But I think we both kind of lamented the fact that we don't live near each other anymore, and we can't get together with our families anymore. At least not easily. And there's always an open invitation to come down to Texas, especially in the winter. But yeah, you mourn and you kind of grieve the loss of all the things that you're used to. And people, I think for one, I underestimated the grieving of routine and comfort that comes with being in the same place for a long time
Hmm.
or being around the same people. In my previous job, I had everything lined up the way that I wanted it to be.
You had rhythm and routine, didn't you?
I did. I absolutely did. I knew which classes I was going to teach. I knew what groups I was in charge of leading. I knew what kind of um, I knew what office I was going to every day. And when you lose all that, it is a kind of a grieving process. Now,
Hmm.
it's not for me, it's not a sorrowful grieving, but it's still a sense of loss.
Mm.
And it that can throw you off at some of the strangest times. You're doing something or working on something and you realize, I have no idea what I'm doing here.
Yeah,
I barely know where the stuff is in my house yet.
right.
Um,
I'll tell you
Man,
what's
I
not in
miss
your house
being
is
able to
your
find
snowblower.
things. Well, my friend, you are correct. I wasn't going to bring it up on this show, but
There's not something
yes.
you brought with you to Texas. Andy, let me take a little break. I'm going to invite anyone listening who's in a life transition, if you are wondering how God can help you in the midst of your life transition. Maybe it's a career change or a relocation. Andy's gone through both of them right now. Maybe you're in an empty nest phase, or you've had a significant health shift in your life, or maybe there's some other thing that's gone on, and you're wondering, is God aware of all that's happening in my life, and how do I seek His comfort and His guidance? Let me know if you have a comment or a question. 877-933-2484. We'll be right back with Andy.
Bill needs a minute. He needs a minute. Bill needs a minute. He'll be right back. He doesn't need an hour. He just needs a minute. And then another minute. And then he's back.
We carry each other's burdens. Please know you can bring us your prayer concerns and we will pray. Share your prayer requests with the Faith Radio team by texting or calling 877-933-2484, or share your prayer requests with the Faith Radio staff and listeners at myfaithradio.com.
Bill took a minute. And now he's back.
I'm back with Dr. Andy Schuttinga. He taught psychology here in the Twin Cities for years, and now he and his wife and family, although he's an empty nester as of recently, has moved to Texas at Houston, which is a fine city. And he was looking for work, got hired yesterday. Was it today or yesterday?
It was today. I had a big interview yesterday with a bunch of people, and they made the call this morning. So
yeah, that's very
pretty
cool.
excited.
So I will say you've got a new focus and a new future, which is exciting. Yeah. But I just got a comment. I'm someone who just retired. I'm a single woman and no children, and I feel adrift and lack of purpose. So these life transitions can pop up, and they can be barking loud like your dog that might bark in the background at any moment.
Yeah, he probably will. Yeah, that's I am definitely at home. Up
Don't worry if he does. Don't worry. It's all good.
Yeah, that's I think retirement's a fascinating thing to consider. We're a little ways away from retirement, but I've definitely given it a lot of thought. And I think that can be one of the probably most anxiety inducing, but also excitement giving moments of life. I believe a lot of things can be both and. I mean, you can be both terrified and absolutely thrilled by the same thing. I believe you can be sad and really elated about the same thing. And to the listener who's heading into retirement, what a gift to be done with the daily grind of work. I mean,
even though work is a blessing, we all know that. But
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
But you are tethered to a schedule.
Should work,
yeah. No,
right?
I know.
But But at the same time, when you get done with that, it's a time of rest and an ability to reflect on, just think of all the great work that you've done over the last 40 years,
Mm-hmm.
45 years, maybe even longer. I don't know how old the person is exactly, but some people retire at 70, some people retire at 60. I have
Right.
two neighbors who retired at 60. I'm like, well, you should tell me your plan. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but they're empty nesters too. And I just talked to my neighbor. His name is Mike. He's a really nice guy. And he said, there's a part of me that's kind of terrified because I don't want to just be sitting at home in my easy chair all day long doing nothing.
Right.
And I said, well, what are you going to do? And he said, I don't know, but I'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And even that mentality, I said to him, well, you've got the right frame of mind, because if you say, I'll figure it out with a sense of hope and excitement, you're already ahead of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And you're already looking forward to saying, all right, what is next? What can I do? Not what do I have to do, but what can I do? Can I volunteer at something that I've always wanted to kind of do, but never had the time to do? Maybe you like reading books to little kids and you don't have grandkids. Well, go volunteer at the library, go
Mm-hmm.
volunteer at a preschool or a grade school. Call around and say, I would like to read books to kids. Where can you put me?
Yeah.
I guarantee you're going to find somebody who will take you up on that.
Yeah. Andy, do you think it's wise to put boundaries in place, time boundaries, where you say, okay, I just retired and I'm going to, for the next 5 months, catch up on a bunch of things I always wanted to do. And then 5 months from now, I'm going to start volunteering reading to kids. I mean, things like that. Does that help when you're in the midst of a life transition? You said, I didn't really think about work until I got to Texas. And now all of a sudden you applied yourself and you got hired today. So you probably had some time boundaries in place, didn't you?
Yeah, and I probably misspoke a little bit. I was definitely thinking about what can I do when I get there. But sitting, applying for jobs,
Right.
during the middle of the day, I just didn't have as much time to do that because there was so much to take care of. Getting a house ready to sell. Well, yeah, we won't go into details about that. But, in terms of setting timeframes,
Yeah.
I think that's really, really helpful because, again, if you're transitioning out of the work world where you've had to be 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 or 10 to 6 or whatever your hours were, whatever your schedule was, even in the most free jobs where there's lots of freedom, you still have a basic schedule that you kind of stick to. And I actually think that's super wise to have kind of goals and targets ahead of yourself, because we're kind of driven to do that throughout our whole lives. I don't think that changes a whole lot when you get out of the work world. I think competitive people are still kind of competitive.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of retired people will start picking up, pickleball or golf
Sure.
or tennis or, maybe lower impact things like that, maybe biking or walking. And you might say, well, you know what? I kind of want to walk 5 miles and I can't do that yet. So I'm going to work on setting goals. Like I'm going to get to 5 miles and then I'm going to get to 5 miles in, you know, I don't know, good timing for walking, but in half the time that I do it now.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of things like that where we can set some boundaries for ourselves or some goals or markers that
Mm-hmm.
allow us to focus on that. And I think that's good for our brain. I think it's good for our mental health. Um, and I love the idea of just taking some time to do something that's kind of fun when you retire for a while and then say, okay, I'm gonna let loose for a little while, see how that goes, enjoy myself, enjoy my freedom. But then I'm gonna get back into a little bit more routine of a schedule and maybe find some things that I can say I will be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really good for people.
Mm-hmm. Andy, let's talk about community or a group of
Yeah,
people
yeah.
that are surrounding you when you're in a life transition. Because you and your wife, you're now empty nesters. You quit your job,
Mhm.
you sold your home, you moved to a different state, and you got a new job today. I must say that's a lot of change. Now, having
It
said
is.
having said that, what was your community that came around you and said, Andy, I think what you're doing is really smart. I think you're going to do great. I think, I've got your back. I'm going to help. What can I do to come help you get your house ready? I mean, did you have a community of people that helped you through these transitions?
Yes and no, because we have people here that we know. Many of them are from my wife's work. So she's been working at this company for a couple of years now, first as a consultant and then as a full-timer, working remotely. And I know a few people there, but not very many.
Okay.
So it's a little different for both of us because she goes to work now in the office and sees regular people all the time who are at least a work community. We're both seeking community outside of the workplace. And we've made some great connections with people around here already. Through connections of connections, things like that. We've visited a few churches. So the people that Bethany knows and now I know have been a helpful community, but it's not the same as the community that we had back in Minnesota where we had longtime friends. And, texting only gets you so far. I'm not a big texter, and phone calls
Hmm.
only get you so far because you're
Hmm.
not looking at someone, you're not in the same room with them and kind of leaning on them, at least not physically, but maybe emotionally. Um, So that's a little bit more of a challenge. And the good thing is, Bill, we're seeking out community. We're seeking out people to be in that circle of friendship and support. We just filled out at a church that we've enjoyed going to. I mean, here's just something practical that anyone can do. We filled out the little card on well, it's not a card, it's a phone app that said we'd like to join a small group. And it's a big church, and so we know there's a lot of people that go there, and there's a lot of people in our neighborhood apparently that go to this church. So we asked to be put into a neighborhood Bible study with
Nice.
like-minded Christians
Hmm.
and also people who are dealing with transition, like empty nesting. That was one of the box checks. So this church is a really good setup for getting you into a group of similar people. And I think that kind of stuff is so incredibly important. And if I'm being completely honest with you and the listeners, Bill, I don't think I even understood how important that is until we got here. Um, and you realized we really don't know that many people here. When we moved to Minnesota, we had a lot more people that we knew from different things, same college, same church background. We don't have that here. And when we moved to Indonesia, we had several expats. They had a very tight expat community there, and we were able to dive right into that because that's a very different and unusual living situation there.
Hmm.
When we moved to Northwest Iowa, we moved to an area where we went to college and many of our college friends were from and grew up. So moving there, we had instant community. And even when we moved way, 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 way back to Ames, Iowa, we had the same thing. We had a lot of people from the same denominational background who we could plug into a church immediately with. And I don't think we've ever been faced with so few people that we can naturally connect with as we have here. And so that's been, I don't want to say it's been hard because that's not quite accurate, but it has definitely been really challenging. And we've had to take the step to get out and say, well, this stuff doesn't happen naturally. We're going to seek people out and we're going to look for community and we're going to find it.
Hmm.
And we always keep an eye on, hey, God, where do you want us to plug in? What do you want us to do? What church do you want us to be part of where we can serve other people besides just serving ourselves?
Andy, I know we've talked about brain plasticity before, but you know
Hmm.
that old saying, when you get older, time seems to go by even quicker. And what I've
Oh,
come to
yeah.
understand is because we are in the same habits and routines, there's not a lot of new things we're bringing to our brain. So
Right.
we're kind of living in that same neural plasticity zone with the same
Yes.
habits and routines. Whereas you're in a brand new environment, you've got to meet all new people, new job, new everything. This is gonna feel like probably a long year for you, which is a good thing.
It is. It's that's it's a great cognitive, emotional, and neurological
Uh
challenge.
huh.
And I mean challenge in the best possible way. It's like telling yourself, I'm going to run a 5K this year and I'm going to train myself to do it. You're going to build new muscles or you're going to you're actually not going to build new muscles. You're going to strengthen the ones that you've had your whole life that you really
Right.
haven't used in a long time. And we haven't had to use a lot of those new to the community muscles for a long time. It's been, we spent 8 years, 8.5 years in Minneapolis area longer than anywhere we've been as a married couple. That was the longest stint anywhere. We seem to have 7.5, 8.5 year chunks wherever we go, which is kind of a fascinating thing in
Yeah.
its own right. But um, but yeah, those are that whole mentality that you talked about of newness and embracing it. It does create new pathways in your brain for sure,
Hmm.
because at the very least, you have to literally have a literal new map in your head of where you go. I've already been kind of weaning myself off of the Google Maps
Hmm.
for getting
Yeah.
places. I realized I went to go pick up pizza the other night and I thought, wait a minute, I don't even have to look up where I'm going. I felt so proud of myself, like I memorized the route.
My question
Um,
is, how often are you eating there? That's my concern.
Well, we have pizza every Friday night,
Okay.
so just once a week. But
Okay.
I've gone to the same place. We kind of found our two favorites now, so we're kind of set.
All right. Andy, let me take a break. We're talking about life transitions with Dr. Andy Schuttinga, who's going through them right now himself. If you have a question or a comment about a transition you're going through, we'd love to hear it. 877-933-2484. I'm back with Dr. Andy Schuttinga. He has joined us from his new location, his new home in Houston, Texas. He moved there not that long ago, got a job today, making a lot of life transitions. He is now an empty nester. He and his wife are empty nesters. Job change, new home, sold his home. I go down, on and on. One thing I know, Andy, in all the traveling I've done in my life, and I've done a lot where I'm in a location for 8 to 10 weeks, is I find that my
Oh yeah,
brain
yeah.
fires up. The activating system working in my brain says, let's try to see if we can spot some positives in the day.
That's
And
brilliant.
I don't know if I do that as much when I'm home in my regular routine, but when I'm outside of it in a new environment, I start to think, for what are my little positives I can spot?
That's really smart. I I have to remind myself to do that from time to time too. I think we all do. I think it's really important to focus on the good things in our life. It's so easy. It's just so naturally easy to look for, oh, the traffic, oh, the weather, oh, the
Yeah.
people in my neighborhood, oh, that loud dog that barks all the time, instead of saying, you know what? I'm grateful I have good brakes on my car. I'm grateful for the weather because I really love the beauty of the seasons. I am grateful for my neighbor's dog because I know that dog brings my neighbor a lot of joy and happiness because I can see it when they walk together. I mean,
Hmm.
it's so much of our lives' happiness is about the general mindset that we have.
I
I
agree.
think having a positive outlook on life is so much more powerful than it is to look for the things that aren't working, to look for the things that don't fit quite right, and instead find the beauty in the stuff that does work,
Hmm.
that is nice,
Yeah.
that is pretty, that is comfortable.
And I always go back to 1 Thessalonians 5, 16, 17, 18. Rejoice always, pray continually, give thanks in all circumstances. This is God's will for you in Christ Jesus. So I can meditate on that every day, that verse, and go, all right, how do I rejoice always? How do I pray continually and give thanks all the time?
Ah, that is so true. And God is with us all the time.
Yeah,
I mean, even when we feel lost in transition, which I sounds like a movie. Actually, it was a
it was a
movie.
movie.
Yeah, that's right. It was okay. Um, not as opposed to Lost in Space, which was a great show from the what 70s maybe
Yeah, that
60s.
takes me
That
back
was
to
a
my
fun
kid
show.
days.
Yeah, right. I
Yeah.
saw those reruns. Um,
Hmm.
it's wow, we just really dated ourselves there, but that's okay.
That's okay.
Um, there's I don't know. It's a fascinating social experiment to move yourself across the country, to move with your family across the country, just to realize all of the different ways that God blesses us in our lives each and every day.
Hmm.
And being taken out of your comfort is a really good way to do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I don't recommend that everybody should just get up and, try to move as soon as possible. I don't think there's wisdom in that necessarily either. But, even in a place where you've been for 15, 20, 30 years, try something new. Take a vacation to some place you've never thought of going.
Yeah.
And go there instead of, going camping this summer. Get out of your state and go far away and go visit someone you haven't seen for a long time.
Yeah.
And, challenge yourself to do something that's really out of your typical comfort zone. I think that has been good for me because I think I was getting too comfortable in Minnesota, just doing the same things and not stretching myself in ways to learn and grow. And I think that's been really good for me here to be kind of forced to do that sort of thing and have a different mentality towards what's going on around me.
Andy, I had a comment come in, and maybe you can clear this up. I know I can clear it up, but I'll let you do it. The text says, I just don't understand. How do you know you're supposed to move to Texas with nothing waiting for you? And in my case, no money. My retirement wasn't voluntary.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it started off with your wife getting this job in Texas.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you had something in place before you sold your house and moved.
Yes, and that makes a big difference.
A big difference, yes.
We have never just said, hey, let's just go to wherever. There's always been some place for at least one of us to land with an income and a steady piece of employment for one of us, if not both.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important. Forced retirement, though, that's a very different situation. I mean, you're looking at something that says, hey, wait a minute, I didn't ask for this. I didn't want this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really tough because I think in those situations, it's a lot harder to see what God's plan is. But at the same time, I think it's really important to say, what's God's plan?
Mm-hmm.
You have something different for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily like it right now, but I trust that as hard as it is, I trust that this is what you want me to do and where you want me to be for whatever reason it is. And sometimes those reasons take a while to figure out,
Mm-hmm.
which is not easy. But I think it's important to have this mentality of, God is my refuge and my strength. There's a lot of research out there about when we see things as it's called the Lazarus Folkman model, and it's about how we perceive stress, and it's about whether we see change as being threatening or as being challenging.
Say more about
And
that. That's interesting.
yeah, so it's a very secular thought, and it's oftentimes in terms of if I have something happen in front of me, we do this immediately, right? So this Lazarus Folkman model it's about big stresses and small stresses. If you see a big dog on the street, we've been talking about dogs earlier. If you see a giant dog on the street in front of you, you're immediately going to make a decision. Is it a threat or is it a challenge?
Mm-hmm.
I see dogs like that as a challenge. Like, I want you to come and like me. So I'm going to do what I can to be, approachable and friendly to this big dog because I want to pet it. Right. And some
Mm-hmm.
people are going to say, that is terrifying. That dog will bite my face off. And they might run away.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we do the same thing in slow thinking as well, because we look at this. Let's take the caller's example. You have a forced retirement, which means, for those of you who don't know, it means your company said, you're done working here, whether you like it or not. And you're probably at a point in your, career where we can say you're retiring and you maybe don't want that. Is that a challenge or a threat? And that's up to us to decide. And the, the more faith way of looking at it, the more biblical way of looking at it, the way that I think God wants us to look at it is this. We see that as a chance to be transformed by the renewing of your mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
From Romans 12, verses 12. How do we reappraise the situation from I'm getting the short end of the stick here to, all right, God, you've got something different for me that's going to be good. What is it?
Mm-hmm.
How do I put my trust in God? And is this something that's going to teach me something new or help me grow closer to the Lord, which is a gift in itself? Or is this a threat to my existence? And when we are able to kind of reframe and reappraise situations and look for the positive, like you were talking about earlier, Bill, I think that's incredibly valuable.
Mm-hmm. And when
Because
go ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, when I'm all of a sudden in a new environment, one of the things that I always remind myself of is the value of routines for physical and mental health. It's like make sure you get exercise, make sure you get some sleep, make sure you're spending time in the Word and in prayer, and look at it as an opportunity to spend additional time in the Word if you're out of your comfort zone or you're in a place where you're not as familiar as you would be if you were in the comforts of your home environment. I always find that as an exciting challenge, even if I'm not super comfortable. I go, well, here's a pretty good opportunity. I mean, the authorities wanted to kill Jesus, and he was homeless. So there was all kinds of opportunities when he would wake up in the morning and he would disappear because he was going off to pray.
Yeah, isn't that something? I was since we've been here, we decided that we were going to get up really early in the morning. So we've been getting up at, like 5:30, make some coffee, and do devotions. And we do our own. My wife and I, we read different things in different places of the house that are comfortable for each of us. We kind of have our own, like we kind of have our own spots
Your
and whatnot.
zones.
And I was struck by that. I've been reading through. I just decided I'm going to read one or two chapters I have a book, and then I read one or two chapters of the New Testament every day. So, as I was working through the Gospels, I was really struck by that idea that sometimes Jesus would just kind of take off.
Yeah,
like he would disappear.
Yep.
Like, he wouldn't be like, "Hey guys."
Yeah, Peter wanted to know where he was after a
I'm going up the hill to pray.
Yeah, after a tremendous night of ministry. You would think they wake up and they can't find him. He's gone off to pray.
I sometimes think Jesus was a serious introvert
who
who loved people and cared deeply for them, and that didn't recharge his batteries. He's still a human, so
right.
He got tired and he needed sleep. He needed to eat.
Yeah,
and I'll bet you he was just like, man, I have had enough of these guys. I gotta just go up, be alone for a while, talk to my father.
Yeah.
And it's a little unfair because his father's a little on the next level.
Yeah.
Than most of ours, but yeah, I was struck by that. There's two things that I've really noticed about the gospel. How many times Jesus said, "Very truly, I tell you."
Yes.
He said a lot.
Yes. Do I have your attention now?
Kind of forgotten about that. I paid extra attention to those things. And his occasional disappearing act to renew his spirit. And I think it's important for us to do that, to sometimes just get away and say to, if you're a single person, that might be easier. If you're a married person with 6 kids, that's a lot harder.
Yeah, no doubt.
And, you maybe tell your family or your loved ones, your friends, and just say, hey, I'm just going to shut my phone off for a while. I'm just going to go be by myself. Nobody worry about me. I'm fine. I need to recharge my batteries, and I need to reconnect with God. And I think I don't think anybody's going to not respect that.
No, absolutely not. We're going to be right back with Dr. Andy Schuttinga. We're talking about life transitions, and if you've had a big transition yourself and you want to share it, or you'd like us to pray for you, let us know what it is. 877-933-2484. It is my deepest desire that you take the very first step of faith by placing your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. If you've got questions about what it means to begin a relationship with Jesus, text the word faith to 41224. I'm just wrapping up a conversation I'm having with Dr. Andy Schuttinga on life's transitions. We're all going to have them, whether it is a new job or moving to a new town. Maybe you've gone through the loss of a relationship or the loss of a loved one. That is a significant life change. Of course, a shift in your health can be very overwhelming. And some people are pretty good at trusting the Lord. Other people get a little bit panicked. I want to say let's trust prayer over panic. And Andy himself, although it's nothing but good news in all of his transitions, He's become an empty nester and left Minneapolis, where he lived with his wife and family for 8 or 9 years, and then moved to Texas. These are a lot of big changes, and it can be overwhelming, but you've trusted the Lord through every step of the way and said, Lord, here I am. Use me, help me, and he's been doing it.
Yeah, and what a blessing to have my wife, who's a pretty stalwart person. I think honestly, the hardest thing has been for us is the empty nesting piece.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we miss our kids. Our oldest son has been in college for a couple of years, and our youngest son, we had him for 2 years, kind of by himself during the school year, and really enjoyed that. And I mean, this is how crazy it was. We literally dropped him off at college in Iowa
Mm-hmm.
on a Saturday. We got in the car with the dog, who was drugged up a little bit for traveling, and we drove our car straight from dropping him off at college to our house
In Houston.
It was exactly
your new house.
Houston.
Okay.
Yes, it was exactly 1,000 miles from the gas
Wow.
station in Sioux Center, Iowa, to our house. We made it in one shot, and we got to our house and we looked around, and I think we were both hit with just a wellspring or a wall or a deluge, whatever you want to think about, of emotion of this is our new life.
Yeah.
And it's not like the old life. Yes, we've been married before. We were married for almost 10 years before having our first child. So we know how to be married together with just the two of us.
Okay.
But yeah, all those big changes they're very powerful. And I don't want to fool anybody. It's been challenging. I mean, it's been hard. Some of it's been hard. We have definitely felt at times alone and lonely here. We have definitely felt at times like, what are we doing? And we have definitely felt deep longing for our kids to be home.
Yeah.
But I think it's not only is that normal, but it's healthy. You should miss your kids to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You should miss your old friends to a certain degree. There's nothing wrong with that. And I think when people are transitioning, there's always this hard piece of, well, how do I do this well? We all want to do it well. And you think, well, I shouldn't miss my kids so much. That's bad. No, it's not. Miss them as much as you want. It's like grieving. No one should tell you there's a right way to grieve, because there's not. We all do these things differently. One thing I do think of those really important are the things that we talked about, is putting your foundation in Jesus, trusting God that he has a plan for you in your transitioning, whatever it is, whether it's a positive or a negative transition in your mind. Look for the positives all the time. The other thing I would strongly recommend, like we talked about too, or just to recap, is find community. If you're in a new place, find new community. If you're in an old place with transition happening there, rely on your community. And if you don't have a good community, you gotta start looking for a new one. Even if you're in the same place you've been for 30 years, if your community isn't meeting that part of your needs, it's okay to find a new community and look for some different people to connect with. I think that's really important.
Andy, we just have about a minute left. And when you dropped your son off at college and then drove nonstop and then got to the house and you kind of said, this is our new life, I think there's something pretty significant about saying that out loud. I don't know if you said it out loud, but when you name something, I think it reduces your brain to get hijacked. It's like, this is what we do now. I'm a retired person. This is our new house. You start realizing this is where God has led you, and this is what you're going to be doing now, and to do it joyfully.
And it is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It really is in the end.
Not easy.
It's hard.
Let's admit it's not easy, but...
it's not.
Yeah.
But it's great. It's a challenge, and that's what we chose to view it as, and that's why it's gone, really pretty well.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on landing the new job and the new move and everything else. It's been great talking to you again. I wish you were here in the studio with me, because I miss seeing you in person. So does Wyatt. But thank you so much. We'll do it again.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot, guys.
You bet. Dr. Andy Schuttinga has been my guest. That wraps up our show for the day and for the week. Thank you for supporting Faith Radio. See you next week. Thanks for listening. Programming like this is made available through your support. Information available at myfaithradio.com.
There are moments in life when you don't know what comes next.
In one moment, everything changed.
Moments of loss.
My world everything starts falling apart.
Moments of fear.
I tried to slow down and I couldn't. I'm putting both feet on the brake pedal and nothing's happening.
Moments of doubt.
If you're real.
And in those moments, people discover something unexpected.
That's the moment that the color came back in the room. It was literally like a light switch went on.
On the Wild God Stories podcast, you'll hear true stories of real people.
We start spinning out of control and we start calling out on the Lord.
I owe him my very life.
And when we say Wild God, we're talking about the one true living God.
I just sensed God say, help this woman. And I just told her about Jesus.
Wow God Stories, wherever you get your podcasts.